Dan Dickau here, Gonzaga Nation SI. This is the WCC Weekly, where we will be taking a trip around each of the schools in the West Coast Conference, connecting with their coaching staff to hear what is new and the updates and outlook for the upcoming season. Today's guest, University of Portland Pilot head coach Shantay Legans. Shantay, thanks for joining.
Man, thanks for having me, brother. It's good to be on. Good to finally talk some hoops. It's been a minute.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably talking NIL left and right with people that are handling a lot of that in your world, and I'm sure we'll touch on that in a second. But as we were kind of figuring out, coordinating exactly what time we were record, you said, give me 8 minutes, like Kobe, and I'll be right on.
So we're just finishing up. Guys are just finishing up some shots. So,
so give me the breakdown. Kobe, LeBron, Michael Jordan. Who is it to you, or is it somebody completely different?
Oh no, it's Jordan. I hate to break it. Everyone, it's the funniest thing in the world. That's all our team talks about, and staff now. So yeah, so it's obviously Jordan for me. That's where it's hard because I got to watch him play a lot. I get to watch LeBron play a lot and watch Kobe play a lot. I haven't watched the old heads. We're sitting in the head coaches meeting of the WCC and just hearing everybody. You heard some guys talk about it. They started bringing up some old school names, and so it was fun to listen to that. But for me, it's always going to be Jordan. It's hard to pass for me. It's like just one of them deals.
So tell us about how those meetings would go. A WCC meeting, if I'm correct, there's usually once in the off season and then once like preseason leading up to the year, where coaches kind of get on the same page. My understanding would get on the same page as far as protocol within the league and how they want to handle different things. But it's also a time for you guys as basketball coaches just to kind of talk shop. What are those meetings like, and who is the most outgoing coach in those meetings?
So that was my first in-person one. We've had some Zoom ones going before. It was also to introduce Stu, the new commissioner, Stu Lance. It's pretty cool. Got to hear him talk. They just talk about the season, how we could make the WCC, one of the best basketball conferences in the country. Obviously, I think we're getting there. Talking about our net rating, scheduling, what we need to do to make our conference, one of the top conferences, and just different ways to do it. It was good for me because I've only seen most of these coaches just on the sideline or you're recruiting, so. For them to be around, let their guard down, just talk normal, not always, not the competitive side of them so much. So that was the first time I really got to see that. I think Randy Bennett and Romar, I think were the ones that do a lot of the talking and stuff, and it was pretty good to listen to them. And obviously Coach Fuse, you just got a lot of smart people in that room, and it was just fun to sit back and listen. And I'm one of the younger guys, so I had to. I just like soaking in the knowledge of some. I mean, there's Hall of Fame coaches in that room, and so to sit there and listen to their ideas and thoughts and different things like that was actually it was a treat for me. So I had a good time with that.
So the WCC continues to improve on the national stage. A couple of years ago, 3 teams were in. Last year, 2, and they both made nice runs. You guys have shown progress, although unfortunately last year had a lot of injuries, so it kind of stalled that progress. What does Portland need to do to keep going in the same trajectory it was?
We just got to keep, with what we're doing. I believe in what we're doing. Like you said, we had the injuries, but we also do. Usually when a guy goes down, you could fill him back in and you could hold it for like a game or two. But, I don't think we had the depth last year. I think losing guys at certain parts of the season, really put a damper, especially I think after, you can have early success and that can hurt you late. And I think, having a lot of people pat you on the back early, I think our team didn't handle the success well, even though it wasn't like we were 2-1 or 3-0 in that early tournament. But you went against Villanova. We played good against some other teams. We had a pretty good preseason, so people were patting us on the back, and we didn't do a great job of handling the little bit of success that we got early. And so I think that bled over to the season. And then once we started, getting our legging and getting everything moving in the right direction, we got a couple injuries. Again, no excuse. You got to be able to fill guys in. That's part of basketball. And so I think, having a little bit more depth this year is going to help us. Having some guys with size and athleticism will really help us defensively and rebounding. I thought Offensively, if you look at our numbers, we're pretty good offensively. Again, I just think the defensive side and the rebounding really beat us up this year. And again, we didn't have a lot of size in there to compete with some of the top teams in our league, and that's our goal, and that's what we want to do. We want to win the league, and you got to be able to challenge the Gonzaga's bigs. You got to be able to challenge St. Mary's bigs. LMU has bigs, and now you got to be able to handle that. Santa Clara has bigs, and so. The rebounding side, I mean, we could have a great game. I mean, we did some good things this last year, but we just didn't finish the play with a rebound, and that hurt us. And obviously, it's our second year, and going into this year, I think we're expecting to be much better.
So you mentioned kind of experience of having some success, like after that Villanova win, and then you mentioned kind of the transfer portal. That's obviously a key component of any college basketball program now, is figuring out what you need and how to go about it in the portal. What's your process and your staff's process like? Do you look at just straight numbers? Do you first off like numbers that jump out statistically? Do you look at, hey, he's from a winning program? Do you look at relationships maybe from an AAU program that you've got prior relationships, maybe coached a player from, they're reaching out to you? How do you sift through that to find the guys that are going to fit for you?
It's tough because you use all that, right? You use that, like we love shooters, we love guys with size. You use all that to your advantage. You use your relationships, and so it gets really grimy when you're in there. Because I had guys last year. I mean, it bled over, so we had a good team our first year. I thought we did pretty good, and obviously our guys are getting hit up. It is what it is. Then you're playing in the middle of the season, and guys are getting hit up during our season, and so it's kind of a weird deal because I don't feel that's how it should be. Obviously AAU coaches will call you, and the craziest thing is you get a freshman who was on a winning team, and these are the things, the red flags for me. You get a freshman who's on a winning team. They're playing behind an all-league guy, and they're doing everything, and it's a really good team, right? And then you get somebody else saying, hey, he's upset, he wants to go somewhere else. I'm like, man, well, they're 24-5. Like, what are you talking about? He's a freshman playing 11 minutes a game behind an all-league dude. Like, those are red flags for me, because you get a kid like that, he just waits his turn. Obviously, he's a good player. He's playing 11 minutes. I'm using a real example. And It's like, yeah, he's a really good player. We recruited him early, but it's like when he gets here, is he going to play more than Tyler? Is he going to take Tyler's play? Is he going to take, and so when you look at things like that, or you look at some of these guys that are calling, it's sometimes you mark guys off and you say that's a no-go. You recruit a guy and he's not playing. You circle him during the season and say, hey, let's see if anything changes. Let's see who pops into the portal. I mean, you have to do all this stuff now, and then you have to pop it in with now, NIL and all this other stuff also. And so now you got to figure, navigate those waters and try to figure out, how you can get a young man to want to join your program.
How impactful is being in the Portland community with Nike, Adidas, to supporting your program? I know you guys are a Nike school, but Adidas is right there too. So there's a good, culture back. How big of a support is that to you guys as you're out kind of drumming up interest in your program and recruiting players?
Well, it's huge because Portland is a great city, and that's a big deal. And so, like, and you've obviously what Portland's like, and so it's a really nice city. But when you come to our campus, it's like you're away from the city, so you get both the best worlds, because you have that experience where you can go down and go do something and grab a latte, or go to do anything you want, because it's a big city. You go to watch an NBA game, you can do pretty much anything you want to do, because it's a nice sized city. But then when you're on campus, you're really focused on here, and then having Nike and having Adidas and some other great businesses that are really good around here. You have great time for guys that be able to go get jobs in the summer. They got internships if they need them, and so being able to do that, and then the academic piece is really huge. So having the city behind us is pretty good, and where we're located right here on the bluff, it really gives you the best of both worlds. You can be down and hanging out, and then you can come right here and enjoy college life, because it's really secluded away from a little bit of everything else.
NBA playoffs are going right now. A couple guys are having monster postseason runs. Nikola Jokic and Jimmy Butler are two that come to mind. And when I've been running youth workouts lately, I've been sharing those two as examples, because neither is the greatest athlete,
Mm-hmm.
but they both have tremendous IQ. They are both tremendous teammates, and they're both tremendous. Both have a tremendous fundamental base
Yep.
and love for the game. When you watch the NBA playoffs right now, who stands out, and then what are you looking at when you're watching it?
Well, you always because NBA and you played in it, and so like you kind of understand you understand more than anybody else than just a regular fan. And as a coach, you're always looking for different things. And sometimes, like when I watch the Lakers, I just watch it for fun. We ain't getting nothing from the Lakers. Just but when you're watching other teams and they do things so quick. It doesn't look fast on TV, but it seems like the 24 seconds, but the things they do is so quick, and their reaction time and of what they need to do when they get the ball in their hands. Those are things like I'll clip up and send to our guys and say, look, your favorite player just had the ball in their hands for like less than a second, and they made a decision, pass, shoot, or drive it. And so, I'm always looking at that. When we have a guy like Tyler, obviously, Robertson. We're always looking for things to be able to get him different ways, different post ups, and different. You see the defensive schemes. How do you guard a ball screen? I mean, it's everyone always has these great ideas, but it's really impossible unless everyone's on a string. And when teams are doing well, like you watch Boston play these last two games, the reason they won is because they defended crazy. They were flying around. They looked like a whole different team, and so the ball screen coverages on the backside, everyone's watching the ball, but if you're watching the backside actions and different things like that, those are some of the things we'll clip up and send to our guys. And they want to play, once they leave here, the 30-second shot clock is gone. So everyone plays with 24 seconds in the whole entire world except college basketball, right? Yeah. Maybe high school basketball. And so the reaction time, the decision-making time, those are the things I'm really looking at. And, you're playing out of closeouts. And so, I tell our guys, you don't have to have a bag like these guys. Yeah, I know what's in your bag. I mean, you watch the Giddy kid. The Giddy kid just drives by you. He doesn't, he doesn't do too much. You're watching all these really good players, and maybe you'll get like 7 or 8 highlights from them. But for the most part, all these guys, like you say, Jimmy Butler's just going straight to picking a spot, using a pump fake, spinning back, and getting into a good shot. So you try to say, hey guys, the basketball game is very simple, and here are the best players in the world making it very simple. But they're also making it look really good because they're doing it at such a high level. So that's what we try to break down for our guys. And, the only time my head just could go away is when I watch the Lakers, because we ain't got a LeBron or Anthony Davis. So it just clears out. But I am having a lot of fun. I was kind of torn watching the Denver Nuggets and the Lakers. My wife's Serbian, so, it's a crazy household. They're over there screaming for him. And just to watch him play is unbelievable, right? He just looks like the dude down the street.
Yeah, he is so much fun to watch. And he sets the tone for his teammates because he's so unselfish, and it makes other guys play in that way. But I want to ask you now about Eric Spoelstra. I grew up in the Portland area. I remember watching Eric Spoelstra as a kid going to Portland Pilots game. I remember when I went to Portland Pilot youth basketball camps growing up, the Larry Steele basketball camps. Eric Spoelstra would lead all the ball handling drills. And I got to know him a little bit throughout interactions during the course of my time in the NBA. I think he's one of the all-time most underrated coaches. Yes. Does an amazing job. Does he support and does he still stay involved to a certain extent with the Portland basketball program? And has he reached out to you or given you any help in any way?
When I first got the job, we talked for a quick second. His dad comes to games. We are taking what they do with their weight training and conditioning and added it to our program. We're calling it, heat culture. So we do use him in a lot of different ways. This summer, I'm hoping we could connect and, talk. But yeah, just like you said, he's one of the most you're watching these TV shows in the morning, and they lost that to Atlanta, and they're saying, oh, he's a good coach, but I think they need a different voice in that locker room, and this, that, and the other. And now look at him. And so he's done a lot with the thing that's most impressive to me is he's had the best talent in the world and has done well. And now you got supposedly the eighth seed, and now he's doing well with that. So he's shown he can coach anybody, which is pretty cool. And when you watch him, there's the way his flair, his attention to detail is amazing, especially when they get in that defensive thing. So yeah, I'd love to connect with him this summer if possible. I know he comes back home a lot, and one of his strength coaches went to my high school, and so that's how that got started. But he does. I mean, people here, he's a legend here, and so we have him on our wall. It's big time, and so when people walk in, they know who he is.
So off season, lots of movement. You guys have had a couple guys head out. You guys have had a few come in. If you're not too privy to college basketball in the off season, you just kind of listen in for big picture stuff.
Yeah.
What would you share with our listeners about what Portland has done in the off season as far as guys coming in?
Well, we've got some size. That we've got guys that rebound. We'll have a big team overall. I think our two shortest guys will be under. We only have two guys under 6'4" this year. Wanze, obviously, and then the freshman we got coming in named Vincent. Vince, who's a very good player. And so, I think our athleticism went up, our skill went up, and our shooting. And, obviously we had that, and then we just got size. We need to be able to rebound and compete at that end. And so, I've made some mistakes recruiting after the first year. I wanted to go get big, burly guys that can really, try to be physical with these guys. It was just hard for me to coach, those guys, and we got to be able to figure that out. But we do have some skilled guys with some size coming in, which I'm really excited about. We got guys that can play almost any position on the floor. So you'll see a lot of basketball where, you have multiple guys handling it and bringing it up. And we just got to get these guys on campus so we can start seeing what we got. That's the one thing with the transfer portal is, you get some guys out of that portal, you recruit them at a certain, you recruit them out of high school, and then you don't get to see them play for a year or two, or you see them play in somebody else's system. And you just don't know, if that's going to work there because, coaches, they repeat until the guys understand it. That's embedded in them, right? I still believe ball side foot high, have it up. It's just whenever I step on a court, I never did that before I got to college, and I, playing, in Europe or whatever. That's what my always ball side foot. So you got to be able to break some of these guys' habits and get them here. So that's the most important thing to see, what you got, especially like you said, IQ wise. We do a lot of things where you're being creative on the offensive end. You're moving the ball. You got to be able to find the opening. You got to be able to dribble this guy and know that guy's coming down from that, that backside action and hit the guy up top. You got to be able to read those, again, reaction times. And so you want to, how good guys are, but you want to make sure that when they do get on campus, they have some reaction time. So we got some guys with some size and a lot of skill. We'll have a very long basketball team this year.
You guys played in probably the premier event last year in the non-conference, the PK 85. What's on the docket for a non-conference for Portland next year? I'm sure you're still working on some of the schedule, but is there anything you're excited about you can share right now?
Well, we got some pretty good games. We got Kent State coming back. They gave us our first shellacking last year. I thought that was pretty good. It was a tough team. Don't go to the MAC, they say. And we said, we'll go ahead and do it. That's a bad move. They can play Gonzaga pretty tough. I think, we kind of try to copy the mold of St. Mary's when they played against really good mid-major teams. We're going to have a couple, high majors here where we're going to try to, get our net rating and where it needs to be. We want to be at the end of the year one of the top 3, top 4 teams and be able to talk about the NCAA tournament or the NIT. That's what our league's trying to do, and so team for team. That's something we have to do as a whole, as a WCC, is make sure our schedule is where it needs to be. So we got to play against good mid majors like Kent State. We got to play against, I think we got some pretty good, we're trying to finalize a couple deals with a couple high majors. We're going out to play in an event where, in the Phoenix Sun Arena against a pretty good mid major team. So that's going to be like a neutral site event. That's pretty good for us. So we're excited about, our schedule. We're still trying to get a couple pieces down. We want to be going into the WCC in the top 150, top close to 100, so we could, beat some of these teams in our league, because we want to have 6 or 7 teams in our league in the top 150, 100, and try to, start getting bids that way. And that's the way, our conference is thinking. We got to make sure we're scheduling that way.
Last question for you. I know the Blazers just announced an expansion for the G League. They're going to have a team. And my understanding is they're going to play home games at the University of Portland.
Yes.
What's that going to do for you in regards to showing and sharing and teaching with the guys in your program? Because they should be able to see that next level player and guys that are on the cusp of the NBA that much closer.
I just think it's great, man. And there'll be a lot of foot traffic in and out of our gym, which is what you want as a coach. Some guys will, hey, we got to keep our guy. But I love the foot traffic. I love our guys being able to interact with, on the fringe NBA guys or NBA guys who are coming down just for that, a two-way contract, and being able to sit behind, I want our guys to sit behind the bench so they could listen to those guys and listen to how the coaches talk to their players. And that's something that I think is going to be really unique for us. I'm going to try to get guys to come play neutral site games at a G League facility and try to get them to come to our place. But it's really exciting to be able to have them come in here. I think it's something that a lot of teams haven't done, especially at our level. And I think it's going to be something that's going to open a lot of doors for our players. And it's also going to be able to help us, I think, in time find guys. Because I'll be able to build relationships with, coaches and different people who walk in and different scouts and be able to, find out about, some high school kids, some European kids, and, they'll be able to say, hey man, this kid is really good. Where do you get him from? And now that may open the door for our guys because, just like anybody else, it takes one guy to like you. It's one person to try to get you in the door. And if you can get somebody like that, and I think it gives our guys more of an opportunity to see the game. And it gives us, my coaches and myself, a chance to soak up a lot more basketball knowledge, which, you probably have to go out and go to clinics to get, where we could just sit there and, hey, can I sit in the locker room and hear you talk to your team? Or can I, and just, and then you're going to get to see a bunch of people, basketball is a small world that you haven't seen in 10 to 15 years. And you didn't know where those guys are at. And they're obviously hanging around the G League. And so that's something that I'm looking forward to. It's really going to put a little bit more emphasis on our university, which I'm excited about.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate the time, Shantay. There's still lots to do in the off season. I'm sure you're going to get it done and get your program back in the top half of the WCC, fighting for a postseason bid. So appreciate the time. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me. Thanks for talking hoops. Finally, just normal basketball. Thanks.